with a single digital identity, we are issuing identity from birth, from zero, everybody. So the one who's seeking service, they have multi. So you can either use your biometric. That means if you have a smartphone, you have a phone, you have any digital gadget, you can use it. Today with the physical, when you lose it, you have to apply, wait for it to come. But with the digital ID, if you forget your SDIN number, you can go to any center. It's immediate. Na kokanya, you go and then they'll give it back to you. The digital identity is it is another form of an identity. So it's an identity. It's just to identify you, to be able to, for you to be given service. After the issuance of digital ID, your information is not static. It can still change. You have the right to amend, to correct, to update your information, even after the issuance of the digital identity. So the digital identity is a drive that the government of Rwanda decided to embark on. One, to provide better service delivery to the citizens by going with where the technology is today. Normally, the ID that we had was issued, and it required the service provider and the service seeker to be at in the same premise. Like you had to come over the counter and then I would give you service. But with the digital identity, it is moving these steps even further, where you can completely access services online without being with the person who's giving you the service, and in a more secure manner, and ensuring that the person, even if you're meeting virtually, they are still the same person with whom you're giving the service. So it is also to comply to the eKYC regulations. It's to ensure that the data subject, meaning the owner of the identity, also is informed about this access to their data. This is the alignment to the law on personal data protection and privacy, where every time your personal data is being accessed, you have to be informed and you have to give consent. And when you give consent to the exact data set that are required for that service. So the key issues is, one is that way of issuing authenticating the person without being with them physically. Meaning you can use the digital format of your identity to be able to transact. The other one is the people we are giving the ID. Remember that today, with the ID we currently have, we're issuing it from 16. Meaning those who are below 16 do not have an ID card. But with a single digital identity, we are issuing identity from birth, from zero, everybody. And also even the people we are giving it to. Today, the ID we had was being issued to citizen, to foreign resident, meaning they're here for 6 months and above, and to refugees. But there are some people within our society who were not being issued identity, meaning, for example, asylum seeker. You know that when you enter to apply for refugee, you are first an asylum seeker, and then it goes into a commission, and then afterwards, if it's granted, you become a refugee. So now, when you in that process, when you are an asylum seeker, the asylum seekers were not given any document to identify them, and yet, while this process is ongoing, they also need access to services. They need access to a lot of things. We also have a population of stateless. You know that in neighboring districts, neighboring the borders, we have some portions of people who live there, and the country they came from do not recognize them anymore. And in Rwanda, they are not Rwandans either. So we call them stateless. Those ones were not also covered. Same as immigrants. Because of the free movement between our borders, we get to have immigrants on our border, in our land, and they also were not issued a proper identity card. So all those people were now being considered when we issue the single digital identity. The information about your nationality will be also part of the data set that is available for your digital identity, but on the physical card, you do not differentiate to say, because an identity card is to identify you. So you don't need to say mine looks blue, the other one looks green, or looks. You are identified to access the service. When I'm in a service provision institution, well, I don't need to know that you are a refugee for me to give you a service, unless it's a service that is only provided to a category of people. Then that one, them they will be able to see the category in which that person is for them to be able to provide that service. This is an example, for example, for Mutuelle de Santé, where Mutuelle de Santé is given to Rwandans. And then, so if you're not a Rwandan, you'll have another health insurance that you can use to access health services, but Mutuelle de Santé, you have to show that you're Rwandan to be able to benefit from it. Today, with a digital identity, we are decoupling, owning. Even today, when you have an ID, having an ID, like foreign resident, they had an ID that looked like yours and mine, right? Yeah. So having an identity is the state recognizes you are identified as Emmanuel. Okay. Now, you identified as Emmanuel as a Rwandan, that's an additional information that is not necessarily given to everybody for any service, right? Yeah, so the different category of information on yourself are shared by the institution that has the right to know for them to be able to provide service depending on the right they have. For example, let me give an example. If it's like a shop, I'm selling something. Do I need to know if you're a refugee or a Rwandan or, right? But if the case again of Mutuelle de Santé, I need to know that Emmanuel in front of me is a Rwandan or Emmanuel in front of me now is a refugee. So I need to check with your status if you have access to Mutuelle de Santé. To ensure that you are indeed yourself, there are multiple ways we can use biometrics. Biometrics, when we are being issued a digital identity, from 0 to 5, we'll be only taking the photo. Meaning, if I am going to give a service to a child who's below 5, I can be able to match the photo of the child in front of me against the photo that was collected when they're being issued a digital identity. It matches and then it says, yes, this baby is still the same, right? And now if you are above 5, now you can be giving the full biometric, meaning the face, the iris, and the 10 fingerprint. So now at the service counter, if I want to confirm that Emmanuel is still Emmanuel, you can either use your iris, you can either use your fingerprint, or you can use your face as well to match. So you use biometric now for authentication, which is another difference we have between the ID we had today and the digital identity. With the digital identity, the biometric that we collected will also be used for authentication. Normally, when you collect biometric, they are used for deduplication. So the difference between deduplication and authentication is when you're collecting biometrics, usually it is to ensure that the person is unique. So you take the fingerprint or whatever other biometric modality you collect, you run it against every other biometric that you have to confirm that this person did not come as somebody else previously, right? That's the deduplication. Now, when you go to the authentication, it is just to match the person who's seeking service claims to be Josephine. Is this really Josephine? Meaning then it can even send you an OTP. And then I say, I received that OTP, I key it in. When I key it in, you confirm that, yes, I am sure that even if I'm not with Josephine physically, but there is a code that I sent and then she confirmed. So later on, I as Josephine cannot claim to say, I'm not accepting, you did not contact me, right? Then I will say, no, there was a code that was sent to you, or kindly use your face. Then I can use, if I have a smartphone, I can use my face, it confirms, and then the person can give me the service and I don't have to be with them when they're giving me that service. So this allows to give the service online 100% without requiring for you to make the one trip where you need to to be onboarded. So the one who's seeking service, they have multi. So you can either use your biometric. That means if you have a smartphone, you have a phone, you have any digital gadget, you can use it. Or the digital ID will also come in a physical form with a card with a QR code, right? So that one can also be used, for example, for offline mode, meaning you don't have anything. Me, I want to give you service. I can still scan your QR code and I can still confirm that it is you, and then I'll give you the service. The other one, I can also, even if it's not a smartphone, maybe you have a feature phone, I can send you an one-time PIN. You see the one-time PIN, that comes in a simplest form as a text. Then you can use it to authenticate, and then they're giving you the service. So you have multiple ways, multiple means to authenticate a person when they're being given a service. The digital identity gives you, as the data subject, as the citizen, as the person, the freedom or the ability to select which data set you want to present given the service you're being given. So on the digital identity, it will come also on a mobile wallet, so you'll have it on your smartphone. So I give you an example. I want to enter a nightclub. Nightclub says to enter, I have to be above 18, right? Then on my digital ID app, I can select the photo and the age. And those are the only information you'll be able to see, and I present it to you, whoever is checking the entrance of the nightclub. When you check, you will only, I don't need to tell you that I'm Josephine, I don't need to tell you that I'm Rwandan or anything. I just want, for you to give me access, you just want to know that I'm above the age. I'll show you. But then if I want, for example, to do a national exam, then they say, no, but I also, on top of your age and everything, but we also need to know your name. So I can add also the name. So I can be able to select data that I need to present given the service that I'm applying for. So this is in compliance to the DPP law, because in the law on personal protection and privacy, it says that as much data set on you is there, you have the right to select only those that are being used for that service. So the advantage of having a digital identity against having only the physical one is you do not have to wait. You can still access services, because just having the number and your biometric, we can still authenticate and access the services. And then now, if you do not, for any reason, maybe you do not you forget your number, or you do not, or you had it on the phone and then maybe your phone got damaged or stolen or lost or anything. One, you can first lock it. You can have it locked. That's one. The second one, you can still go to the service center where you can recover your digital identity number, because by using your biometrics, we can still get your ID number back, and then you can be given. Or also, this service will be available on Irembo, and then so you can go on Irembo, you log in, and then you can go check and get your identity number in case you forgot it for any reason. The other option also with the digital identity is we have you can generate tokens. Those are aliases of your ID number that you can use for transaction. So you can decide, you say, I cancel this token because I've lost it and I don't remember and I don't want it to be used anywhere. And then I generate another token, and then this is the token I'll be using moving forward. It's better for you not to use your SDID for all the transaction every time. You can generate a derivative of your SDID to use for transaction. So like one-time transaction, instead of going and you give your real SDID, you can generate a token. Because the good thing is when you generate that token, you can use it as a one-time, and then it's not used again. The beauty with it is when you do it that way, after that transaction, you can still cancel that token, and then you generate another, or you can have multiple tokens. You say, for example, for this service, I'll be using this token. For this service, I'll be using. So you do not use the same SDIN or the same token for any for all the transactions that you are working on. Today, with the physical, when you lose it, you have to apply, wait for it to come. right? But with the digital ID, if you forget your SDIN number, you can go to any center. It's immediate. Na kokanya, you go, and then they'll give it back to you. And then you can either write it somewhere, and then now you know it, or any other mean that you want. Or maybe you want to recover it. Maybe you lost your smartphone, or it was damaged, and you want to recover now your SDID in your new device. Then you can still re-upload, re-download your SDID on your new gadget. So you see, for the issues of the digital ID, we have two steps. We have the pre-enrollment, and in pre-enrollment, we confirm your demographic data. Demographic, it means your names, date of birth, place of birth, parent names. If you are married, the spouse name. If you have children, your children as well. And this, you can either do it at the center, or you can do it online on Irembo. So the pre-enrollment service is available on Irembo, and this will allow even the Rwandans in diaspora to still pre-enroll through Irembo. Now the enrollment, where now you go to give your biometrics, that one will be done in two ways. Either you can go to the Rwandan embassy, and Rwandan embassies also do outreach programs in diasporas abroad. Embassies organize outreach programs in Rwandan communities in different locations, and they organize with the communities, and they go and collect biometrics for them. So even currently, for the current ID, that's what they do. So even for the digital ID, it will be done the same way. Or also a member of diaspora who is in Rwanda for any reason, they can still come to NIDA, because we have a diaspora desk here. Then we can still onboard them even when they're in Rwanda for any other reason. To have a fully fledged digital identity, there are multiple systems and steps that have to come in. The first one, as you mentioned, was the law. The law was already enacted. Now was to develop the systems that required for the issuance of the digital identity. So the first one was the pre-enrollment system that was launched. We did a pilot during the expo. Now we also have the enrollment system, where we are using kits and then we collect biometrics. Currently, we are in the 3 districts in the southern province, in Huye, Gisagara, and Nyanza, where we are doing both pre-enrollment and enrollment, but pre-enrollment is also available via Irembo. And then after that, now we have the core digital identity system. So the core is the system that is like the heart of the SDID system that collects the information from the pre-enrollment, where we also collect the consent, and then the biometric from the enrollment. It puts them together. It is connected to our system called ABIS. The ABIS is the one I told you for the deduplication. We also have the system already. It sends the biometric collected, except the face. It's the iris and the fingerprint. It does the duplication, confirms that the person is unique, comes back into the core. The core now generates the SDID number. And then it is also connected now to the SDID card printing for those who want their SDID, because you remember in the law, it provisions that we have 3 types. So you can have just the number, you can have the token, or you can have the card in a physical format. So whoever wants to have their physical format, that's the SDID card printing. This one, the procurement is still in process. And then after that, we also have the layer for authentication, which is called AMBAS, and that one is at contracting level, and which will all go live. So now we are doing massive data collection across the country. We hope to be done by June, end of May, June next year, 2026. But the core development has started already. It will be going live also around that same period, so that when the core is up now, you'll be able to be informed, this is your SDID number, and then you can use it moving forward. And then with the AMBAS, you can be able to authenticate and access multiple services. And all these services pertaining to SDID, the same as current ID services that are on Irembo, the SDID services will also be available on Irembo. So you can either access them from the SDID wallet on your phone if you have a smartphone, or you can also access it via Irembo through your personal account. Everything that is starting, obviously the first 3 districts, people come at different paces, but awareness is there. We are doing different outreach programs. We are going into schools. We are going into universities. We are going in different places where people are so that we can collect their biometrics and we can onboard them for the SDID. The challenges that were there before were the delays in the procurement process, but also you understand because we divided the procurable item into smaller procurement or bids, and some of them we had to retender more than once. So, but the good thing is everybody is now on board. So now the work has started. Some systems have gone live while others are being developed. So it's work being done in concurrency. The digital identity is just, it is another form of an identity. So nukurango muntu, it's an identity. It's just to identify you, to be able to, for you to be given service. So there's nothing ill, there's nothing hidden behind, there's nothing. It is just to embrace the new technology that we've reached on, and then we can be able to provision to ensure that we are also at par with where science and technology has reached. So it's not there's no ill intention. There's nothing. It's to identify. It's just a new form of issuing identity. So identity has always been in Rwanda since we started with Ibuku. We went to different forms of ID depending on the technology, the advances that were there. So now we are at the era where we have the digital identity and we are embracing the digital identity. So there's nothing, it is just following the trends and ensuring that people can transact securely from where they are. If you have the ID today, the physical one we have, it is just moving that same one to the digital format. And you can still have the physical one if you want it as well. We looked at Estonia, they have digital identity. We looked at Singapore, they also have a digital identity. Even on the continent, some countries have started. We have Ethiopia that has a digital identity. We have Nigeria has digital identity. So yes, there are different countries are implementing one form or another of a digital identity. Even Kenya, they've embarked on it now, Uganda. You know that normally for you to be issued a passport, you have to show your identity card, at least when you're 16 and above. So that will still continue because it's the identity. So you need to be identified to be given another travel document, right? And even for the driving license, for you to apply for a driving license, you need to show your identity. Depending on the category in which you fall, if you're a foreign resident, you're a refugee, for asylum seeker, whatever, you need to be identified for you to be able to be given the driving license. So the integration will still continue because it's a new form of identity. So all the integrations that existed before will still continue even today. But what we'll see is actually we'll see even more integration and more services that will be born because we are covering now a new segment of population that was not covered before. So we'll be able to see new types of integrations and new services. Innovation will really be born from this digital identity. So I think we need to separate services because what you are saying is actually the process called change of name. So be it a digital identity, be it the identity we have today, be it any other form of identity. When one is born, by law, they are given names by their parents or their legal guardian. And for any reason throughout their lifetime, they can change that name. And if they want to change it, there are processes. They have to apply for it. The Ministry of Local Government is the one mandated to do it. The service is available in Irembo. You can apply for a change of name. And when you apply and it goes through the National Gazette, you come with that changed name. You go back to the registry so that even your record, your birth record, are updated with this new name. Now, the other question you asked about getting your spouse name. Actually, in the law pertaining to persons and family, gives that provision. So even today, as of 2016, if one gets married, they have the choice to take the spouse name at the day they are getting married. But even those who were married before, you can decide, you say, you know, my spouse wants to take my name. It is appended to the names that you have, and you go back to the registry where that marriage was done, they append that name, and then across all the documents, that now the spouse that got the name of their spouse is added, that name is added. Now, in case of a divorce, for example, at the ruling, the one who was given a name can decide to say, I also want at the ruling to say also this name, I do not want it anymore. And then in the ruling of that divorce, it will be mentioned they are also giving back the name. And then that ruling, when they go register that divorce at the sector, they also inform about it, and then the name is removed. So meaning now all their identification documents, the name is removed because the reason for adding that name is no longer there. So you see, you have different steps where you can add, you can remove, or you can change as well. No, but that's a normal process, be it on digital ID, even on digital ID, when today you are being onboarded for the digital ID, and you happen to have your gazette that already gives you, allows you to change your name, you'll give a copy of that gazette, and then the names that appear on the gazette are the ones we'll register you on. After the issuance of digital ID, your information is not static. It can still change. You have the right to amend, to correct, to update your information, even after the issuance of the digital identity. Because, for example, yes, you can be issued a digital identity today when you are single, and then you get married and you take your spouse's name. Clearly, your single digital identity, the name on your ID will also be amended and go with the names that you have now in your civil registry, right? Yes. So you can still amend. Even you know that on the digital identity, you need to put your residence, your address, and people can move. So today I can apply for my digital identity while staying in Kigali, but maybe two years, 3 years down the line, I move to another place. I can still go under my digital identity, my residential address. I change it, I put it to the new address. Because remember that when you give me the digital identity and my address that is there is the address that I use to access a lot of service, and the main one is I use that address even for voting. Through the process of pre-enrollment, that's where we are doing all of that. So when you come with your ID, we present to you, we show you the information we have on you. And if any information at all among your data set is incorrect or needs to be changed, we have multiple ways to correct it. One, for example, the spelling of your name can be different. Then you have another document that has the correct spelling. We take it as a supporting document and we correct your name. There are some people who have the date of birth as 1st January, but you have another document that shows your real date of birth, but provided that all the other information are still matching those on the identity, we also use it to correct your date of birth and match it with your other document. There are some people who, for example, on your parent name, there was only one name, yet they have two names. When you give their ID number, we see it, we can also correct and update. So through this pre-enrollment, it is an opportunity. Even some who in our system today, you appear that you are single, but yet in the meantime you got married. You can also still bring your marriage certificate, and then we can amend, update it, and then update your information with your marital status and your spouse name. Or even we might still know you as married, yet you've divorced or you are widowed. We can update your marital status or any status of yours depending on the information that you have. So we have a lot of means and ways to ensure that when you come, we can be able to correct, amend, and confirm. Because at the end, when you are done, we've shown it to you, you have to consent. And so that consent will allow us to say that you also verified your information and you accept that this is true and represents who you are at that time. Which means it doesn't mean that it is static, because tomorrow it might be changed and you can still apply and then correct it again, provided you give us a supporting document to do so. So this digital identity, because you know that there's also the development of the system, and then there's massive rollout, data collection across the country, there's acquisition of the kits, acquisition of the infrastructure. So far, it is estimated at slightly above 50 million euros. And it's sponsored it is covered under the Rwanda Digital Acceleration Project, which is a project supported by World Bank and AIIB. I would like to encourage everybody to embrace and enroll, confirm first their information. There are so many channels you can do. Pre-enrollment, you can do it via Irembo, so you can go and do it by yourself. You pre-enroll your dependents, meaning your children or the people that whom you have legal guardianship. And I encourage everybody, we will be continuing as we move from the 3 district to the next district. We encourage you to continue following up with us in the different channels that we have, in the newspaper, in the different messaging that we have, so that when we arrive to your district, you really come and then we onboard you. And so in the meantime, before we arrive, you can still send your ID number, an SMS, you send your ID number, and then we give you the information that we have on you today, so that if there's anything that you need to correct, you can correct it before we reach your place, so that by the time you come, it will be just a smooth and happy path. So we are encouraging everybody to ensure. And there are some parents who, for different reasons, had not registered their children on time. This is also the time I encourage them to go and then register them at the sector offices near where they stay, so that when we come for the issuance of digital identity, because we are giving it to everybody, we ensure that even our children are all registered and we have their identifiers.